Hi, I'm Jonathan from JS Models. Welcome to the workshop. Today we're going to be taking a look at my latest kit, which is the Factory Entrance kit. This is a 4mm scale double O gauge kit, which is designed to work with the existing extra low relief factory back kits that have been a part of my range for a number of years now. So we have two of those here, and then the new Factory Entrance kit sits in between and joins them together into this quite impressive, much larger building. It's available in a brick finish, as per this one here. It's also available in a stone finish as well. So here I've got one of the stone finish kits along with two of the stone finish extra low relief factory backs. So we'll crack those open, have a look at the contents, and then we'll go through the build process for both kits, and then look in more detail at the final build. So here we are at the workbench. We're just going to quickly build one of the JSM22 kits. Well, we're actually going to build two because we need two for the overall building. But we'll just run you through building one of them because they're obviously both the same. So in the kit, as well as the full instructions and the glazing material, you have 3 sheets of 2mm MDF. So you've got the main front wall with all the stone or brickwork engraved. You've got the inner front wall, which goes on the front of what I call the inner shell. That carries all the windows, and you stick the floors into that and everything like that. And then on this sprue here, we've got 4 floor pieces. We've got the 2 inner end walls and the 2 outer end walls, and we've also got some blanking panels that you can use in place of the windows if you want to basically blank off any of the windows in the kit. You can do. The front wall has all the windows obviously cut out, but around the window is cut out as well. Just get that into focus. It's cut out apart from 4 tiny little tabs on all the windows. So what you can do, and what I would recommend that you do at this stage, is to cut through those tabs, and you can take all the windows out. So we'll just quickly do one of those. So we'll just cut through the 4 tabs and take the windows out. So that then means that you can assemble the kit. You can paint all the brickwork or stonework without the windows being in the way. Obviously, when these are together, you can paint around the window opening without getting any paint on the window itself. And then the windows themselves, you can paint and glaze those separately, and then just pop them back in to the reveal afterwards. So I would recommend that you do it that way and remove all the windows before you assemble it. But because I'm not painting this kit, I'm going to leave the windows in, apart from that one, obviously. So let's get the pieces cut out from the sheets. So for that, I'm just using a utility knife, and we're just cutting through all the tabs in the sheet that hold the pieces in. I prefer to use a utility knife for this rather than a scalpel, because I do find that sometimes with a scalpel, it doesn't like the pressure that you sometimes have to apply to cut the pieces out. A utility knife is much easier to use than a scalpel on these, I find. So I'll just cut through these and get the rest of the pieces out. Okay, so for the assembly, we're going to start with the inner front wall, but we're going to start with it face down. I want that face down on the bench. Then we've got the 4 floor pieces, and we've got the 2 end pieces. So we'll get these glued together. So the adhesive that I use is this, which is the Deluxe Materials Laser Cut Kit Glue. This is the older style bottle. They have revised the packaging now, and this is how it looks now. The reason that I'm using this is because it's just a bottle that I have open. The bottles, whichever style you get, come with a needle applicator. These are the needles that come with the adhesive. They also come with a stainless steel pin, which you can use to clean out the needle if you need to. I do find that these needles block quite easily. Now, I do supply additional needles, which where is it? I've lost. There we are. These are shorter than the ones that Deluxe Materials supply, and they're also a slightly bigger diameter, which means I certainly find that they don't clog quite as easily, and I do much prefer these ones. So that just screws onto there and locks in, and then we can get on and glue this assembly up. So we'll start with the floors. So we just need to run a small bead along the joining surfaces. I do recommend dry fitting the parts first, just so that you're familiar with where things go and how things fit together. Obviously, with this kit being so simple and straightforward, that's not really necessary, but on the more complex kits it really does help. So I'll get the next one in. This glue does dry quite quickly, so it dries a lot quicker than PVA. And I find it with the needle applicator, it's a lot easier to apply the glue as well. Another advantage of this adhesive is it is quite a runny glue, but what that means is that you can actually dry assemble the pieces, so you can put them together without any adhesive on, and then using the needle applicator, just run a bead of adhesive down one or both sides of the joint, and because it's so runny, it will kind of soak into the joint, soak into the fibres a little bit, and hold that really strongly. Not so critical on this kit, as I say, with it being so simple, but on some of the more complex kits and complex assemblies, particularly in the bigger scales, the 7mm kits, where you've got lots of quite big parts to hold together, it does actually make a big difference being able to dry assemble it and then add the adhesive afterwards, kind of like you would with a plastic kit, where you'd put the two pieces together and then run the adhesive down the joint. It's a similar sort of thing. So we'll get the ends glued up as well. Just run some adhesive on here. And with the more complex kits, well, even the simple ones as well, you can use things like pegs and elastic bands and clamps and things like that, just to hold things together while the adhesive sets. But with this being quite quick to go off, that's not always necessary. Glue the ends of the floors as well. And there we go, that's the inner shell completed. On this kit, as I say, it is very simple and straightforward. Obviously with the bigger kits, you've got more gluing area, more parts, but this is nice and straightforward. So that's still needs a little drying time, but that's the inner shell assembled. I've got some glue on the edges there. I'll just wipe that off, and then we'll leave that to dry. So I'll just get a bit of tissue and just clean that up. The important thing with the kits is because we've put in an outer layer over the top that meets at the corners, it's really important to make sure that all the joints are as tight as you can get them, because if they're not, then this assembly is bigger than it should be, and then when you put the overlay parts on, the end pieces will be too far out and they won't all meet up properly. So just make sure that the joints are as tight as possible. So we'll let that dry now, and then come back to it and put the outer skin on. Okay, so we've just let the adhesive set for 5 minutes or so. So we've got the corner joints nice and tight there, and everything's dried around the back. So now we need to fit the outer skin. So that comprises of the front piece, which that lines up along the bottom edge. This is actually the outer piece is higher than the inner piece, so you don't want to try and line it up at the top. And then just line it up side to side. You can use the side pieces to help with the alignment as well. The side pieces are handed. If you try and fit them at the wrong side, then they just don't line up top and bottom, so it's quite obvious which one's which. So they just go on the sides there, and then lined up at the bottom edge. Obviously, because the windows are still in, it's easier to see whether you got the alignment correct or not. But even without the windows, as long as you've got it lined up along the bottom edge and you've got the two sides tight on, then it's in the right position. So we'll get these glued on. So again, with the needle applicator, it's quite easy. All I do is just draw lines. If you are taking the windows out, then it's quite important to make sure that you don't get the glue too close to the window openings, because you don't want any glue to dry in the reveal, because that will stop you being able to fit the windows properly at a later stage. I'll show you that in more detail shortly. So I'll just finish off this grid just to get enough glue on there. You don't need a massive amount, but you know, if you can get it, the more area you can cover, the better. Okay, so we just then drop the front piece on, and then apply some glue to the side pieces and pop those into place. Oops, gone a bit far there. Obviously, because this is taller than the inner shell, you don't actually need to glue all the way up to the top. So get rid of a bit of that there. So now we just need to make sure that the face piece is lined up along the bottom edge, and that the ends are tight against the inner shell, and that will then center that correctly for the window openings. So that's basically it. That's the outer shell on. You can see here what I meant about the window reveals. You just need to make sure that in these areas here there isn't any glue, because that will then stop the window going in correctly at a later date, and it's sitting tight against the front wall. So obviously once you've painted this, and you've painted and glazed your windows, you then just run a bit of adhesive into the reveal, and just pop the window back in like that. We'll leave that out for now because we've still to add the windowsills, which are on the 3mm piece. So we'll just leave this to dry for 5 minutes or so, just to let that grab, and then we can come back and fit the windowsills. Right, so that's had a few minutes to dry now. So the outer skin is attached to the inner shell. So all we need to do now to finish this off is just fit the sills. So sills are on the 3mm piece, and again it's just a case of cutting through the tabs on the ends of the sills just to release them from the sheet. So I'll just do a few of these just to show you. Get all those out of the screw. So these, you may sometimes need to just clean up the ends to get them in, but these are designed to fit. They don't fit, let me bring this a bit closer, they don't fit too well. They will fit like that, but it's better to do them with the fit, oops, get it in focus, it's better to have them with the face upwards, and then they fit really well into there like that. So that's the sill inserted, and that just sits slightly proud of the surface there. So we'll take that out again and get some adhesive on it. So all I do with these is just, again, using the needle applicator, just run a little bit of glue into the bottom corner there. And then pop the sill into place, and they're just pushing into there like that. I'll show you on this one down here, because obviously yours won't have or might not have the windows in. So again, just use the needle applicator just to run a little bit of glue down there, and then pop the sill into place like that. And then from the rear, you can see there that we've just got the tiniest little bit of glue coming through there. Again, you want to keep that as clear as you can, because that forms part of the window reveal, so that the windows can go back in once it's all painted. So it's nice and straightforward. So what I'll do now is I'll just cut the rest of these out and get all the sills fitted, and then that's pretty much it for the build. So I'll get the rest of these cut and glued in. I'll leave the camera running and just fast forward through it, because you don't want to sit and watch all these being fitted. They don't take too long to do, but it's quite repetitive. So okay, so there we go, that's all the sills fitted. You just need to make sure that they're all pushed back and tight against the inner shell, and that's pretty much it. That's the build of the JSM22 done. So oops, no it isn't, we need to fit the window back in, don't we? So just glue the window back in, pop a bit of glue down there and a bit of glue down there, and then pop the window in. Although what we can do is take that out again, is take one of the blanking pieces and we'll just pop this in instead. There is a right and a wrong way around for these. If you put it in the right way, then the mortar courses line up. If you put it in the wrong way, then they don't line up. So you want it with so that the mortar courses line up like that. So that's that finished. So we'll now get the other one built, and then we can show you the new factory entrance kit, and we'll get that built as well. Right, so this is the JSM22 that we've just built. Got the second one there as well. I'll just pop them up there out of the way. So in the factory entrance kit, you obviously get your parts here, and you get your little wallet with the instructions in and the glazing material. So I'll just open this up. Get rid of that. So we've got this sprue there with the sills on. It also has another couple of pieces on in this kit as well. And inside here we have a little sprue with the clock hands on, but we'll come to that later on. So first job is to cut the pieces from the sheets. So we'll start with the front pieces. So again, as before, it's just a case of cutting through the tabs to release the pieces from the sheet. The number of tabs varies depending on the size of the piece and various other things as well. So that's the front wall. That's again got the windows in, all cut out apart from the tabs. So same idea as with the JSM22. And then we'll get all the rest of the pieces for the inner shell cut out. This is the front wall of the tower section. So it's got the windows in as before, but this time we've also got a door frame, and we've also got the clock face. The clock face, you have got the option of either the traditional clock or a more modern clock face. So this is removable in the same way as the windows. So what I'm going to do is just pop that clock face out, cut through the 4 tabs, exactly the same as the windows. We'll just pop that on one side. Yeah, you can see the markings that are engraved in there for the clock face. I'll pop that on one side because we don't need that just yet. Get the rest of the pieces cut out as quickly as I can. Right, so these are all the pieces that we need for the inner shell assembly. We do also need, there is one extra floor piece, a thicker floor piece on the 3mm sprue, so we'll just cut that out as well. And this just forms the top step in front of the doorway. Just clean that up a little bit. So assembly begins with these 3 pieces. This is all covered in the instructions, by the way. So we need these 3 pieces, which go together like that, and then you've got these pieces which form part of the roof structure in there like that. So we'll glue these up first. So as before, we're using the laser cut kit glue from Deluxe Deluxe Materials. I've just got a bit of dried glue on the end now. Let's get that off. Make sure that's free flowing. So we start with these small floor piece or roof pieces, sorry. Just glue up those, pop that into there, and then the side piece. So again, we want to get these pieces of the inner shell as tight as possible, just so that the outer shell will fit correctly. So we'll just make sure that they're nice and tight, and then do the other side. And then we'll just leave that to dry just for a couple of minutes, because when we come to fit the floors, we want these to stay in position. We don't want any of this moving. So we'll leave this for a couple of minutes and come back to it. So we've left that to dry for just a couple of minutes. Oops, as you can see, there is still a bit of wet adhesive in there where it's spilled out, but it's mostly gone off. So we'll just clean these edges up a little bit where the glue spilled out a little bit. So the next step is to fit the floors, and so you've got 3 of these 2mm thick floors, and they go in there like that. So they go through the front piece, they hook over the back of the side pieces as well. So you've got 3 of those there, there and there, and then the thicker piece goes in the bottom in exactly the same way. That just projects a little further because this is the top step of the doorway as well. So we'll get those out again, and then we can glue them up. So with these, we just need a little bit of glue on the sides that touch the front piece, and just on the ends there. We don't want to put any glue on this because this goes all the way through. So just line that up and push it into place. It is handy to have something to sit this on at this stage, because obviously that goes through. So we'll repeat that with the other 2mm floors. They do slot quite easily through the front face, so you shouldn't have a problem fitting these. So now we move on to the 3mm piece. Do exactly the same again. Again, we want to avoid getting glue on this area. And then that drops into there like that. And just to reinforce those, particularly on these bits where we haven't glued them, where they go through the front face, and just run a bead of adhesive underneath there and underneath there, just to make sure that that's got a good hold. I'll just pop some in there and there as well. And then once those are all in, we can then flip this over and get the sides of the front tower section into position. So as with all my kits, you want what was the face of the sheet to the outside. So these are handed. They will fit the other way around, but I just find it a bit neater, just to make sure that they go on the right side, on the correct side. So these need to be fitted by hooking them into the top there and then rotating the piece so that those slots and tabs align. They are quite tricky. You do have to angle them in, because you can't just fit that straight in there, because obviously that tab is in the way. So we'll apply glue on these edges here, and in there where it touches the roof pieces that we put in earlier. So again, we'll just angle that into position and drop it down, and then I'm just going to run a bit of glue in there just to join the floor pieces to it. And I'll repeat for the other side. And again, just tie the floors in with these pieces just by running some glue up the underside of the joints. Just double check that these joints here are correct, and that they're nice and tight, and that the side pieces fit against the floors correctly. Now we come to the front piece of the tower, and again this just drops over the top and into position in there like that, so that they're tight against here. So just take that off again. As I said earlier, it is a good idea to dry fit everything, and then you know that you've got it correct before you start applying glue. So I'll just apply some glue to these areas. And then drop that over again. I've just got a little bit too much adhesive on there, so we'll just wipe that off. And then I'm just going to run a little bit of glue on the back of those joints. See in there, just to strengthen everything and tie everything together. Oops. Just push that apart a little bit. And what you can do to help hold everything while it sets is just get an elastic band and just pop that around there just to hold everything tight. You don't want the elastic bands to be so tight that they distort the pieces, but just a little bit of gentle pressure just to make sure everything stays where it should. Now this piece here is the back piece for there, which you can dry fit at this stage and just make sure it fits, but I would recommend not gluing that yet, because what we're going to do is make this back section so that it's removable, so that we've got access into to fit the clock later on. So again, we'll just let that dry a little bit, and then we can fit the outer skin. So we'll just pop that on one side there, and cut all the pieces from the outer shell. Okay, so we've got the 7 pieces there that form the bulk of the outer shell. So this is drying now, so we'll just take this rubber band off. Excuse me. So the outer shell goes on like so. Again, as with the JSM22 kits, the outer skin is taller than the inner shell, so you just need to be aware of that. So we start with the pieces to either side, and they go flush with the bottom edge and tight into the corner here. So again, we'll just run some adhesive just in lines as we did before. And fit that into position. Just got a bit of glue in that corner there that we don't want, so oops. Just accidentally pushed that window out. But never mind. We can glue that back in later. So I'll get that piece in there like that, and then the side piece fits in there. You need to make sure that this bit here is aligned correctly. So the best way to do that, I'll just get some glue on here. Pop that into position. And then just get an offcut from one of the sprues, and just make sure that that fits in there and that you've got adequate clearance, and that can move freely in and out of there, because that's where the front wall of the JSM22 is going to go into that piece there. So this should be flush with the inner shell along this back edge. Just make sure everything's tight, and then we'll move on to the other side. Turn this round so you can see it. So again, just running the glue lines. This piece in first, tight into the corner and flush with the bottom edge. So the other window gone. I'll just take that out. Obviously you can, as before, cut all the windows out before you do this. Excuse me. And get some glue on there, and this right hand end piece glued in, and again just using the bit of offcut, just make sure that that's free in that joint there. And again, just make sure that everything's tight and that it's flush along this back edge and at the bottom here, which it should be because you've already aligned the front pieces up and the side piece fits in with that, so it's very difficult to get that wrong. So once that's done, we can add these pieces. So these hook over the top of the pieces that we've the front pieces that we've just put on, in a similar way to how this is going to hook over the JSM22 kits when we come to that. So we'll just dry fit that, and you just want to check that the mortar courses line up horizontally. If you've got this piece here incorrectly and flush with the bottom edge, then they should line up. There is a point where this hits the roof piece, so it won't go any further down. So if this is a little low, you can just adjust it, make sure that it's in the correct position. So we'll run some adhesive on here for this piece. And just hook that over the top, and then make sure that it's tight against the inner shell. Sorry about that everyone, it appears that the camera just died and the microphone shortly before that. Anyway, we've just glued that side on, so we'll carry on and glue this side on now. So as before, apply some glue to here and around here, and then slide that over the top and push that into place. And again, I'm just making sure that it's tight into the corner and into the inner shell, and that the mortar lines line through vertically. So now to fit the front, so I'll just dry fit that and make sure that goes on okay. So that goes over the top of the bottom step there, and then that should fit nicely into there like so. So let's take that off again. And apply some adhesive. Just have to be very sparing with it along this top here, because we don't want glue to spill into where the clock face needs to fit later on. So pop that back into place, make sure it's tight, and that's the main pieces of the outer skin applied, and from the rear as well. What you can also do is in these inside corners, because we've applied the adhesive to the inner shell, there isn't any glue up at the top here, sorry, and here. So what we can do is just run a little bit of adhesive into there just to hold those tightly together. And just with a bit of scrap, just clean that out so you don't end up with a big fillet in there. Okay, now the rear face and the roof we can fit next. The rear outer skin doesn't have any texture on it because it doesn't need it because it's from the back. So we'll cut that off from here. Now we spoke about this piece earlier on that goes on the back here. You can pop that into place, and then that goes there. So what we want to do now is glue those two pieces together, but not glue them to the main assembly, and that way that section can just be removed and replaced as necessary to gain access to the clock. So pop that back into place. Just check the orientation when you do. I think, if I remember rightly, no, it doesn't matter. It's not handed. It will go on either way up. So we'll pop that into place and then apply some glue to that, but not too close to the edges because we don't want the glue to spill out and glue this to the rest of the assembly. So put that together like that, and then we can just pop a peg on there to hold them together and remove that and set it aside. The roof piece, which is just the rectangular piece, that goes in here like so. We can fit that in now. So I'll just run a bead of adhesive around the inside of there. And just pop that into place. So on sprue C, we've still got these pieces here, which are for the inside of these four walls at the top. So we'll cut those out. While we're at it, we'll just cut the alternate clock face out as well, and then that's that sprue done with, so we can get rid of that. So the long ones going first. Like so. So we'll get some glue on that. And then that goes in there like so. And then the short ones go at either side. Bit glue on there. Put that into place. And same on this side. And then the remaining piece needs gluing to the top of that. So that's kind of got hold now. So we can fit that back into position. And then apply some glue. Pull that away slightly to get that piece in, and then squeeze those together, clean off the top edge. Pop a couple of pegs on there to hold it in the right position, and then just very gently remove that, and again just set that aside. So that's the outer skins done. So next step is we'll just leave that for a couple of minutes, and we'll get the windowsills put in on these three windows down either side and the two windows here, and the steps for the for underneath the doorway. So leave that for a couple of minutes and come back shortly. So the sills are pretty much exactly as per the JSM22s, so we'll just cut these from the 3mm sprue. And you've obviously got 6 of the same length as it was on the JSM22 kits, and then 2 longer ones for these windows here. So as before, we'll just run a bead of adhesive into the lower corner and fit those again with the face of the board upwards, because as I said earlier, you do get a much better fit that way. And then the bigger windows as well. Bead under there, and a bead under there. Like so. I'll just check round the back. I've got a bit of glue squeeze out on there, so I'll just clean that out from there. And there we go. Next up is the clocks and the steps. Now for that we need sprue E, which has this piece here, this rectangular piece, on focus, this rectangular piece which goes underneath the bottom step, and then we have some pieces for the clock hands. So you have the traditional hands, and then the more modern ones as well, and some spacers. So we'll do the steps first. So we'll just cut the rectangle from the top of this sprue. So there's just 4 little tabs on there. And then we've got these 2 pieces from the 3mm sprue, from sprue D. So this thinner piece, it's this laser board piece, it does say on it glued to the underside of the lower step. So that's the lower step with the line on. So we'll just apply some glue to that. Glue those together. This is essentially just to make this slightly thicker, just so that the the steps are the right finished height. Get a block in here, and then we can take the middle step, apply some glue to it. This has just had tabs on the back edge. There's no tabs on this edge here, so I would suggest making sure that that edge is to the front, and then that just goes on there within the lines that are engraved on it. Got a bit of squeeze out there, so clean that off and just push that against there and make sure it's square, and then that assembly can be glued underneath the bottom step there, underneath the top step, sorry. You could do that at this stage, or you can leave it until later on if you want, but I'll just quickly glue that on now. So just a bit of glue on the top there where it's going to sit under the step, and then glue on the back there. and we'll just we can just center that by eye side to side just to make sure that it's even. Squeeze that together. Just clean off a little bit of squeeze out again. And that's the steps fitted. The clocks, we need to fit the hands. So as I say, we've got a choice of traditional. That hand's dropped out already. We've got the traditional hands and the alternative ones. I'm going to make up both clocks, so I want both sets out. There are duplicates of the traditional ones, just in case you need them, because they are very small. So we need one of each hand, an hour and a minute hand for each clock, and then we also just need one of the spacers for each clock. So I'll just carefully cut those out, and this is quite fiddly, but what we're going to do is just taking the hour hand, I'm going to put a tiny little dab of glue on the back of it, and then just stick the spacer to that. And like I say, it is very fiddly. Just use the tip of the knife just to bed that down, and then very carefully apply a little bit of glue to the back of the minute hand, and apply that stick that to the hour hand, and then a small dot of adhesive in the center, and carefully glue that. Oops. Again, just using the tip of the knife. This might be when a pair of tweezers or something like that, or a scalpel might be a bit easier. Yeah, careful it doesn't ping off like that. This is definitely the fiddliest part of the build. And stick that on the clock like so. The spacer is there just to lift the hands off the surface of the clock. Obviously you would paint this first, paint the face and paint the hands before you attach them. So I'll repeat the process with the modern clock face, although this time what I will do is do it a slightly different way around. We'll start with gluing the little spacer into the center. Adhesive on there, and then apply the hour hand. You probably can't see this very well because it is very small and fiddly. We've got the hour hand on there, and then the minute hand. I'll just put, oops, put a small amount of adhesive on the centre of the hour hand. And then stick the minute hand in position, like so. So pop those on one side to set. So we're on the final stretch now. The other thing we need to do is fit the door. There are various options for the door. So you've got a set of traditional doors, which you can fit as one, which is a single piece, so you can fit that for closed doors. You've got individual leaves, so that you can set them in an open position if you want, or semi-open. And then you've got the same options again, but with a slightly more modern style of glazed door. So whichever you want to use, you can. In this instance, I'm just going to use the solid leaves for the closed door, and if you've removed the frame, obviously you can do this off the model and it's a little bit easier, but we're going to just set that and glue it into the frame, but just set back from the frame very slightly, so that it gives some depth to the frame itself. So we just fitted that by putting the top edge roughly into position, and then just pushing the bottom in until it's an even gap all the way around, and it's a nice snug fit, but not too tight. And then all we're going to do, you can see that in there, the light is not very good, is just run a bead of adhesive around the edge just to secure that in place. Again, this will be much easier if you're doing the doors and windows separately. But that's that doorway in position now. One more thing we need to do is just glue the windows back in that fell out earlier. The tabs that hold them in are quite small, so if you do put pressure on, like I did when I was pushing the inner shell piece on, then you can push them out, but it's best to try and avoid doing that. So we'll just glue those back into position, making sure they're the right way up with the small panes at the top, and do that one as well, like so. And then this piece here, we'll just, that's okay, that fits quite nicely, but it restricts access for the clock, which is why it's separate. So now, because I'm going to photograph this model, I'm not going to glue the clocks in. I'm just going to fit one of them so that I can swap them over. So we'll just pop that into there, push it home like so, and then we can fit that piece back in, and that is the model pretty much finished. Obviously not painted, but there you go. And then with the JSM22 kits, this is designed so that this section here hooks over the top of here. So what we do, sorry, it's very difficult to show this. So what we do is put the JSM22 into this corner against the floor piece, and then just slide that up, and that is then fitted into position like so. So that will just slide on and off. So move these out of the way, get that one into position, and there we go. Oops, get it in frame. And that is the completed assembly of all three kits. And there you go. So as you can see, the JSM22 kits are very straightforward. There's a little bit more to the factory entrance kit, but it's relatively straightforward. Just follow the instructions, and you can have yourself a superb little model. So I'll add some photos in at the end of this video, and that's it. Thank you for watching. Cheers. Bye.